Good morning and welcome to the 445 Productive Through Joy Show with your host and your boy, Dr. Michael Datcher. Man, we have an incredible topic today. Freedom. Freedom in the context of having an unconditioned or undifferentiated response, having a spirit that's unconditioned, meaning you don't have to respond in a conditioned way based upon past experiences. So we have a really interesting show because I'm going through this thing right now. So it'll be interesting to talk about this in the moment. Thanks for being here. You can go to productivethroughjoy.com to see about us. We speak to groups, schools, and organizations about being productive through joy. Let's dive into the topic. So we're talking today about freedom, and we'll be discussing freedom in the context of being free from what I'll just call past conditioned responses. So now we have an idea in the academy called the trigger warnings. At times we are triggered by things in our past, and we're conditioned because that was such a painful situation to respond and act in a certain way. And those trigger warnings can be really helpful for many people. And that's a great way to think about today's topic. When we can be free from the conditioning of our past experiences, not to not pay attention, not to get help around it. I'm not saying that at all, but to be free so we don't have to respond in similar ways that we have in the past to whatever has happened to us in the past. All right. And so that's what I want to think about. Okay, what types of behaviors in my own life that I think are unhelpful for me? What would I like to change about how I respond in certain situations, right? So once you identify that, you can decide, okay, I'm going to stop responding to that way, to those people, these situations in that same way. I have this in spades, trust me. I'm Trump tight when it comes to this situation, which is why we're having a show about it today. It's best seen through example. So when, I feel like people aren't properly, who are in my life, who aren't properly respecting me or treating me right, I do not like that, and I address it in a direct way. But as opposed to kind of being more reasonable at times, I just go off and blow up on people, right? Because my emotions are all tied up in it. Because in my past, that's happened and it's created lots of bad feelings, right? So that behavior triggers me. And it isn't always best to respond in that type of an emotional way when I can have a conversation with the person and solve it and lead to a better outcome than me just blowing up. That wasn't clearly explained, but I think you got to get the gist of what I'm talking about. And so many people have situations in their lives that trigger them in which they respond in a certain way. I am saying it's helpful for me to break that conditioning, and instead we have a technique in my spiritual system called the MinAb breathing technique, and the idea is to when you are feeling triggered, again, to use the current nomenclature, to go into this thing that we call MinAb. It's breathing deeply and tightening your perineum. It's a whole thing, but one can do that, which is very effective, or simply something else. And one thing to do would be to, as we teach our children, to take a breath or a series of breaths and recognize and affirm that you don't have to respond that in the way that you have responded in the past, because at your core, you are unconditioned. Right? At your core, you're unconditioned, meaning you are the spirit of, we call one love, the spirit of God, spirit of Yahweh. That thing exists in you. That is what I would call a person's true nature. So that's pretty arcane, but which goes into point 3, though. But when you can identify your being, not simply as Michael in my case, but as I'll just call it the God inside yourself, the unconditioned, undifferentiated energy inside yourself, the primordial thing inside yourself, man, that can be powerful, because it'll allow you to catch yourself at times mid going the hell off on somebody or some situation, which in my experience usually doesn't end well. Again, not that we should not check people, because people need to be checked. And at times you have to scream on people because that's what it takes. But as a matter of habit, you want to think about how you're responding to situations. Boom, it goes to dynamite. That's all we have for today's show. We'll see you when? Oh, this afternoon at 4:45 p.m. Until then, let's talk about it and be about it. Deuces, I'm out.